Who Is with Vinny Fiorenza. There's a lot he doesn't know. There's a lot he wants to know. This is a podcast where he tries to learn from people who know things he doesn't. He'll be focusing on people from the worlds of business, entertainment, and the arts. His guests are people he finds fascinating and that he believes will bring value to others. Join him on the journey on finding out who is.
I used to get chased by the local cow. I'd go out in the stream and find tadpoles and collect frogs, and I was pretty feral. I told anybody that would listen when I was a child, I'd be like, I'm gonna live in California. Does anybody want to come up to Steven Spielberg's office? And I was like, I'll go. During the pandemic, everything shut down, but voiceover didn't. So I built a studio in my closet. It was like going into Narnia every day. I would be bouncing between playing Space Mom, who is she's got personality. Hello there, darlings. And then I'd be playing this female necromancer who was very, very precise. So I'm gonna stream, but I'm gonna stream badly.
We're here with Elle Newlands. I'm ready to learn about her. Fortunately, she's here and she's ready. Tell us about where you're from, where the origin story start.
The origin story. So I was conceived as an egg and a sperm.
Yeah.
No, I was born in a little town just outside of Glasgow in Scotland. Wow. And I was dropped by the stork. No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what happened there.
It is. I'm giving you the fairy tale version of what it is to be born in Scotland. So anyway, I was born in Scotland. That's how I got the accent.
What were some of your interests growing up? Were you always a performer?
Oh, growing as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid.
Oh, God.
Yeah, give us it.
No. As a kid, I would play in we called it the burn, which is like a stream. But seriously, I was
water.
I was like that kid. I would wear my wellies, my little rubber boots, and go out in the stream and find tadpoles and collect frogs. And I was pretty feral. I grew up in a foresty area, so we would play out in the trees and run in streams, and I used to get chased by the local cow. We would have it was a bull, but we didn't know that, and he was a pretty angry bull, and so we would have this.
Chased by a cow.
Yeah, we would have this bet where we'd be like, who can make it across the field fast enough? And pretty much nobody could really I don't know how we outran that guy, but so we'd be running across this field trying to outrun a bull.
Over the burn.
From the burn.
In
my wellies.
That's awesome. I know you sing. Did you sing to these frogs and tadpoles you collected?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Do you want me to sing to it?
I don't know
I want to be where the people are.
Singing this.
I want to sing with the frogs and tadpoles. I want to collect them in jars out of the burn.
Out of the burn. There we go. Yeah.
I do improv comedy.
Clapping. Yeah. No, we needed that. In Scotland, though, were your family involved in entertainment?
No. I mean, I say that, everybody in my family was a storyteller.
Yeah.
We would hang out, and I mean, that's how it kind of is when you grow up in Scotland or Ireland. Especially years, I don't know how so much now, but in my generation, the grandparents would come over and everybody would get drunk and they would tell their war stories and their stories. And I mean, I think my dad sang, my sister sang. We would do this thing when we'd wash the dishes, hand wash the dishes. We would do 3-part harmonies, I would wash, my sister would dry, my dad would, I don't know, I think he was just spectating to make sure we did it right. But we would sing these 3-part harmonies. So yeah, I've always kind of been a ham, I guess.
Nice. Yeah. No, not much has changed. That's fun.
Definitely, I'm very introverted.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. At least that's the vibe I'm getting right here. Yeah. After you were a kid in Scotland, what type of careers did you get into?
So I started working, probably shouldn't say this on a podcast because it's not legal. I think I started working when I was 14.
Yeah,
I worked,
all right.
Yeah, I was working in a shop where they cut meat. It was a
butcher shop?
Yeah, a butcher shop. I worked there, but I ran the till, the money, the cash register. And I worked, I worked a lot in shops. I had a lot of shop jobs, news agents and stuff like that. And then when I graduated university, I have a degree in politics and history.
Wow.
So yeah, I worked for the government for a tiny very short period of time. I worked for the government, so.
What part? Anything you could speak about?
Yeah, I worked for a department called the Department for International Development, which was like sending aid to developing nations. And so I worked for a while. I worked in HR, and so I would like coordinate with the people. They were called NGOs, which is non-governmental officers, I think they're called, and they were like people from different parts of different fields, like scientists, and they would go out to these far-flung places, and it was just my job to like book their flights, and plus I would help facilitate interviews for new NGOs. So very interesting.
Yeah,
and then I was like, I'm gonna move to California.
When did you decide that? Like, what gave you the push, the final push? You had enough tadpoles, I'm guessing.
I had enough frogs, tadpoles, cutting meat, running in the burn. No, I told anybody that would listen when I was a child, I'd be like, I'm going to live in California. I'm going to move to, I always said I was going to live in California, and I kind of knew it was going to be LA, anyone that would listen. And then right at college age, I was like, I applied to drama school right out of university. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work in an office. I was like, I'm a performer. And so I was doing a lot of extra work on TV.
In Los Angeles?
In Scotland.
Oh, okay.
This is still in Scotland.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of extra work. And then I was like, I kind of want to do this.
All local stuff?
Yeah, like shows in the UK, like Glasgow
great.
shows. Yeah. And so then I was like, I'm going to go to drama school. So I applied for all these drama schools, and then I got in and I was like, why would I put myself through school again? And I had an opportunity to come out, which was like a weird fluke through a family member. And I came out and I visited, and I was only supposed to stay for 3 days. Yeah. I had gone to Hawaii to visit a family member, and I was only supposed to stay for 3 days. And then I ended up staying for 3 weeks, went, I'm going back out there, saved a bunch of money, came back out within the year, and I've stayed.
Wow, I haven't left since.
I've gone home.
No,
I'm legal.
That's good.
I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I've met them all. So Elle in LA, when you first got here, tell us about when you planted your flag.
When I planted my flag in the gold rush of 18 whatever, I came here actually as a singer. I came out initially as a vocalist, and I had a management company that were sponsoring me, and we. I was working on an album, and then just like, I don't know, just morphed. It was like I was doing session singing, and then I was doing like some album work for people, and then I ended up getting into voiceover.
With the music, did you work with anyone kind of interesting or bump into or perform outside the session? Did you like do any like performances places? Yeah,
I've played the Henry Fonda Music Box was kind of a fun one. Yeah, I did like a charity event there. What else? Well, so this was an interesting one. As I was sort of transitioning into voiceover, I got cast as an acorn. Yeah,
the
actual acorn. I was a character. I was an acorn, and she sang, right. So and we did an album, and so I walked into the studio, and they're like, "Oh, and this is Richard Sherman. He's the composer." Wow. Richard Sherman, as in It's a Small World, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Jungle Book,
Wow.
So Richard Sherman was the composer. So I did an album that was basically written by Richard Sherman, and then we had a screening for that project, and one of the ladies that was married to one of the producers at the time was Steven Spielberg's like personal assistant.
Okay.
And so she was like, well, why don't you guys come to the Amblin compound? So we had a piano in the Amblin compound with Richard Sherman playing the piano, I'm singing. And then at one point she's like, does anybody want to come up to Steven Spielberg's office? And I was like, I'll go. And so I sat in his chair, and this was like within 6 months of moving there. So I definitely thought I had, that was it. I was, there was no going back from this.
It's funny how many people have that story.
It was
I don't know,
crazy.
whatever, not that specific story. We still think about Steven Spielberg's chair.
Oh yeah, like that chair. Just anytime I'm having a bad day, I'm like, but you sat in Steven Spielberg's chair, so.
You end up working on a lot of TV shows, like doing voice mostly. Like you voice for shows like Adventure Time, Puss in Boots, Curious George. Tell us about those experiences. What was it like doing like on the TV and film side, doing the voiceover stuff?
It's amazing. I mean, I love my job. That's predominantly what I've been doing, especially in these weird times. Like during the pandemic, like I worked in voiceover. I mean, because everything shut down, but
Yeah.
voiceover didn't. So
No.
like I built a studio in my closet. It was like going into Narnia every day. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
a whole new
amazing.
world.
A whole new world. Yeah.
Tell us about your experience during the pandemic and like what it was like. You're also an actress, but tell us about the voiceover experience.
Well, that was amazing because in 2020, I booked 2 huge video games in the same very short period of time. I booked Apex Legends, which is a very large video game,
Yeah.
very popular video game, and I booked the character of Horizon in Apex Legends, but I also booked the character of the Female Necromancer in Diablo IV.
Crazy.
These 2 characters and 2 worlds could not be more different. So it was just really fun because I got to embody literal hell, which is Diablo, and my season in Apex Legends was called Ascension. So it was like I was in heaven. I was literally living heaven and hell in 2020.
Heaven and hell?
Yeah. Heaven and hell.
L? You sure?
Hell and hell.
There we go. So with the TV show specifically, did you record that from your home and like send it in? Like how did it go? Did you go to a set?
Most of the TV shows I booked pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So how that would work, although it's changed now, unfortunately.
Yeah, tell us about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically how it used to be is you would go into a studio and like it would be like a couple of episodes would record at a time, and so
Okay.
the entire voice cast would be there, and so they'd put you in a horseshoe, you know, and
Yeah.
like you would perform live, like you'd be reading the script live. And unfortunately with the pandemic they couldn't do that anymore, so yeah, a lot of the stuff became working from home, but some of the studios would do a thing where they would just have separate booths.
Yeah.
And so everybody would be in their own booth and we'd all be on a Zoom screen, but we'd be working at the same time.
What was some of the shows that you worked in a booth like that?
Well, there's one that unfortunately it's not out yet and I think I'm still NDA, but that one was for, oh my gosh, I'm like, oh my goose. I'm forgetting the, why can't I remember the name of this? Maybe it was Cartoon Network, but it's out. Basically, I showed up there, and yeah, there was I think 5 of us, and everybody was like in their own separate booth, like in their own room, and that's how they would do it.
But we've been through some crazy times recently.
The world is definitely not the same.
With the video games you mentioned before, you've been in massive video games like the Apex Legends, Diablo IV, Hogwarts Legacy. Like you've been all over the map. Tell us about your first video game experience. What do you remember? Which game you were a part of?
I do. I was in a game called SOCOM 4.
I'm not from that space, so I know nothing. I'm literally learning from you today.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I was in a game called SOCOM 4, and I was call sign Oracle was the name of my character, and she was the voice of the game. So she was like
wow.
the comm that lived inside the main characters. Like she was kind of like the voice in his head from like headquarters.
Yeah.
And so with that one, they very specifically wanted a Scottish actress, and so I booked
Fit
that
the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's incredible. For someone who doesn't know about that stuff, I'd like to hop into the Apex Legends. Like, tell us about that world. Like, what's the video game like, and what is your character like, and how is it? We'll dive into it a little bit.
Oh, cool. So yeah.
Oh, it's nice. You're excited about it.
I like it. I could just talk all day about like I love my job. So
that's incredible.
That's like the biggest blessing ever. Apex Legends, that was a fascinating one because like I said, I booked it at the start of 2020.
Okay.
And my season, as it's called, because it's a battle royale. So it's different than some video games where they work on it for years and then it comes out and that's just it. With Apex Legends, it's a battle royale, so we have seasons. So I've actually been working on it since 2020. And so every legend is in every season, and then they bring in new legends. And so when my season dropped in November of 2020, it was a kind of fraught time in the world. We were pretty burnt out from the end of a pandemic, and we were heading into holiday season, and she, like I said, her season was called Ascension, and she was very uplifting. She's what they call a comfort character.
Okay.
So her name is Dr. Mary Summers. She is a Scottish astrophysicist from a planet called Olympus. Her season dropped with the lore video was that she had been betrayed by her lab partner, Dr. Ashley Reed.
I love it.
I know. And it was very Machiavellian. And so she had gotten into her space rocket ship thing and she'd flown, and then they had untethered her. So she got lost in space, but she ended up being in a black hole. So she lost 87 years. So when she came back to her planet, she had a 5-year-old son that she had left that morning. But when she came back, her son was gone because it was her time. It had been like 15 seconds, but in real time, it was 87 years. Her planet was decimated and she'd lost her son, Newton.
Wow.
Yeah, and so her lore story to date is that Newton has been shown in the lab as a grown-up, but we've lost track of him. So I'm sure at some point they'll pick back up. Her nickname is in the community is Space Mom.
Nice. Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. What speaking of the community, what is the community like, and how does it feel being a part of it?
It's I can't explain this. I remember years ago saying to someone, God, I'd love one of those video games where you're just part of this really strong community and like people just love the game and it's really popular. And that's while I was recording Apex and I had no idea what I was in for. And so when my season dropped, the community, like I said, they really embraced Horizon, but they really embraced me as like one of the voice actors and as the legend. And so it's one of my favorite things of my job, actually. You know, it's a pretty robust social media community, but also I get to go to conventions and I get to meet people, and I just love that. I really do.
Oh, it sounds incredible. Now, the other big video game that we got to speak about a little was Diablo IV. Like, I see that everywhere. Not that I know anything about it, but but there's a lot of people who do, and there's a lot of people who are really excited about it. Yeah. Tell us like run through that a little bit about your character and what it means to you.
So that one was also amazing. My friend Andrea Toyas is she's the casting director, but she's also a voice director. And so when I booked it, she was like, "Oh, you got Female Necromancer," and I instantly went into the studio, and she's very dark. That character's more of her prototype is like Benedict Cumberbatch. I can never say his name.
Yeah, that's great.
And so he was that, you know, kind of like the way he plays characters where they're sort of introverted and
mystery.
And she's British, so it's like, you know, she was, and being a necromancer, they're very familiar with death, so nothing really scares them. They don't get super emotional. They're very matter of fact. So I would be bouncing between sessions, between playing Space Mom, who is like she's got personality, hello there darlings, and then I'd be playing this female necromancer who was very, very precise. And so it was like I'd be bouncing between these sessions. So that was a lot of fun. But Diablo, though, I mean, they've been working on that. I think that's like 10 years in the making since since Diablo 3. But the cinematics. Like I've started playing the game and I'm not a gamer, but that one's a lot easier. Apex Legends is a shooter. It's like you just get in there and you're just running around shooting, which is a little too much for me. It's too much stimulation.
It's a story.
It's very story driven. Yeah. Cool. You have tasks and you have to go places and you'll meet, you know, different characters, but the world, Sanctuary, that you're in Sanctuary is the world, like it's so beautiful. And then there's what's called cutscenes. And so there's like, you know, main characters like Lilith is the main character and Anarius, and there's the whole story of them. And so it's like, it's very entertaining, but Blizzard has in my opinion, has like a gold standard for cinematics and just the way that their sound and their character development and just how everything looks. It's so beautiful. It's very, very cinematic. So what
was your favorite part, like visually? Like, do you have like a place that, while you play the game, do you go anywhere specific?
I haven't got really far yet because I'm not very good at it. So I keep dying. Like literally, I just keep getting killed, which is hilarious.
It's on the cheat codes for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but like just like it's just such a. I mean, it's a very dark world. It's the underworld. It's basically, you know, hell. So it's very dark and but I'm a big fan of beautiful cinematics and work. So
of course,
you know, I get lost. I'm like, oh.
What about people you know, like that have been playing these games? Like, what are their reactions been like?
So my friend Johnny Young, who is in Apex Legends, he plays Crypto. He was playing the beta for Diablo, and he's like, this character sounds like you. And I was like, oh, I don't know, because I couldn't tell anyone. And so the minute it came out, he was like, he's like, because he plays the female necromancer. So he's like, I've been playing you this whole time. And like, I thought it was you and you wouldn't tell me. And I was like, well, I can't tell anyone. So yeah, it's been really fun. And then I saw something I haven't really been following it, but apparently Whoopi Goldberg is mad at Blizzard about something with Diablo. So I don't know. I just keep seeing it. People keep picking up on it. So, but yeah, my friends, my gamer friends, it's a highly anticipated game. They've been waiting a long time. So it's done really well. Like the critics really reviewed it highly. And I think it was Blizzard's fastest selling game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the ads on my TV all the time, like talking about Diablo IV.
Yeah.
When there's that big gap, like from you, say, recording it to the release, like what is, like, are you thinking about the game? Are you thinking, like, what's like the anticipation like in your shoes? Is there any?
It's fascinating because unless they announce us, which they usually don't do until very close to it, you're watching the ramp up on social media and you're like seeing your own character and you can't say anything. And so that happened to me with Apex. It was like, and I'd never had a big deal. I mean, I've worked in a lot of games and I've worked for a long time, but this is Apex Legends has like a different kind of, there's an energy about it. The community is so large. I think the last time I heard it was 150 million players, but it's worldwide. Wow. And so it's a very, very large and robust community. And so, yeah, I'd be following stuff and people would be like going nuts for your character and getting excited. And you couldn't say anything. You can't share it. You're like,
You gotta keep that all contained.
And if you know actors, which you know actors, we like to talk about ourselves.
Yeah, that's a little bit. That's part of the reason why I started this. It's great, giving you guys a little bit of an additional platform, But so you talk about the community. Tell me about these conventions. Like, what's it been like so far? Have you been to a bunch, or like what's the story there?
Yeah, so like during the pandemic, we did a lot of online ones. So we did this thing called Streamily, which you basically people buy your print and then you sign it, but you do like live. So the cast would, once we were clear to like get together in places like sort of not in the height of the pandemic, but we would do, these cast streaming like signings. And then I did like GalaxyCon, but online. I did KuwaitCon, which is like a giant convention in Kuwait.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like we did that online. And then I did Wales Comic Con last year. I actually went there in person.
Nice.
So that was the first one I'd gone to.
What was it like? What
it was
your first?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I can't, like
it's nice.
I just like I cannot say enough about the people who play that game and the people specifically who, it's called being a main, when they main your character, meaning that's the character that they play the most. So when someone mains Horizon, my character, they'll come up to me and I've met the most wonderful, creative. The people give me art. They'll draw, they'll create art, they'll hand it to you. I've had kids come up and just, like cry because the origin story, like they lost their moms and
oh my goodness,
and so it's really touching and it's and like I said, I think like out of everything in my life right now, and I have a wonderful life, but this is probably the most fulfilling part of my life is like meeting the community.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah. That's great. I'm sure you're looking forward to a lot more. Do you have any plans in the near future? Yeah,
so I'm doing a San Diego Comic-Con.
There you go.
I'm doing a panel called Cartoon Voices, which is always really fun. So it's usually like 6 cartoon or voice actors, and we read a script, and we do it in crazy voices and we improv and we just add jokes and and then they also like we talk the interviewers and talk about, but I'm really excited about that because it's a giant panel. I've done it once before and it was amazing. And then I have IG Fest, Insomnia Gaming Fest, which is the largest gaming festival in the UK. I'm going out there in September and I'm really excited about that because I'm gonna like try and play some games and stream and and really get immersed in the gaming community.
Speaking of streaming, do you stream? Have you ever streamed? Like what's the story with that?
So I'm currently building my Twitch. I have a Twitch channel, which is just my name, Elle Newlands. I have a Twitch channel, which I have not actually went live on yet, but I have that's the thing about my community. So it's like, you know, I was, for a joke, when Diablo dropped on the 6th of June, I started posting on Instagram like my character, and I was like, how have I never done this before? Like, and I was playing the game, and so a couple of people in the community reached out and they were like, hey, if you want, I can help you build your channel, I can help you. And so people are actually like, yeah, it's wonderful. So I'm gonna stream, but I'm gonna stream badly. Like, I'm not a gamer. It's just gonna be me like swearing and yelling and laughing and going, what the fuck am I doing here? How did that happen? Where did this goblin come from? You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure the people want that. Yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah.
So, of all the characters you played from the beginning up till now, like, is there a specific character that you relate to the most?
I would definitely say, so the Horizon, for me, when that character came out, I think I sent you that lore video.
Yeah.
So her video where it was so emotional. So like usually with these lore videos, they're like fast and there's a lot of music and there's like, you know, but with this one, it was very slow and it was me narrating it for 6 whole minutes, I think. And it was very emotional. And so I was able to, and I was going through some life stuff at that time, which was pretty heavy. I mean, it was during the pandemic, but I also had life stuff. So it was like, I was able to pour a ton of the emotion that I was feeling into her, because she's kind of like, she has an emotional arc. So she's a great character for me because, you know, she's a mom, but she has this like crazy, like sad story.
Yeah.
And so they've let me, like, there's been a couple of different arcs. She's had one of them, she got angry, which the whole community was like, what? Because like she's so happy, and like in one of the cinematics we did, she was very angry, and so I've gotten to really like act and play, and she was like, I don't know, it was weird. I said she was kind of like, she kind of mommed me through 2020. Yeah, she was like a kind of a talisman for me. Like, it was amazing.
Oh, what an experience.
Yeah, I really love that character. Like, I really do. Yeah. I post about her a lot on my Instagram.
I see. It's incredible. That's inspiring and cool that it was brought to you in that type of way.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I definitely feel, you know, I'm one of those people that I sort of go through life and I look for meaning, and you know, I guess you would say I'm kind of deep, like I'm a deep thinker, and so I look for meaning, and when things come to me, I really try to like make the most of it and really spin it and incorporate it in my life. You know, how can I get a lesson from this? What can I learn from this?
Speaking of, you have your certification that you mentioned. If you want to dive a little bit into that.
Yeah, so that's something I also did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I've been riding horses my whole life, and I have this horse, and I had gone and done this like personal development course, and one of the ladies there was like, would you come and would you be a volunteer for me? I need to do clinic hours for the certification I'm doing. And I was like, what is it? And she said, oh, it's like equine assisted life coach work. And so I was like, I'd love to. So I did it with her, and then I was like, I need to do this.
Wow.
So I did a year. It took me a year, and I did like 3 or 4 on-sites where we had to go and like work with horses, work with clients, and coach people. And I had to do a bunch of clinic hours for myself, and I've had people come and work with my horse. So basically it's like a certification. I'm not a fan of the life coach term.
Understood.
So for me, it's more like a personal development, or I mean, I wouldn't say wellness because I'm not dealing with like diet or anything, but like personal wellness. So when people come,
give an example.
So people come and they work with my horse. So they'll come and I'll put them in. It's not riding. It's all on the ground. Just them with some of the Bohemia people have come. Some Bohemia.
It's incredible.
Clients,
wow.
And so like they'll work with her on the ground. And so we'll at the start I'll be like, what do you want to work on? And some people will be like, well, I have really bad anxiety, or I have this money problem, or whatever. And it just works itself out. So basically they go in with the horse. I ask them to like notice what's happening with the horse, and I'm like, what's happening with you? And they start to like connect, and like they start to like make meaning of what's happening with the horse, and they have breakthroughs like, oh, I feel really seen right now, or oh wow, like she stomped her foot. I just realized someone was angry at me when I was a kid, and I've been holding all this. You know, it's like people have these massive breakthroughs because horses are super empathic.
Wow, I would have never thought of that. That's incredible. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Maybe I'll be there at some point.
You should come up. Yeah.
I should. But why?
Yeah.
What area are you mainly?
It's in Topanga.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I love Topanga.
Yeah, it's really nice there.
No, that's incredible. Yeah. What's your horse's name?
Her name is Nochera.
Does that mean something?
It does.
Yeah,
so she's a very special horse. Well, I mean, aren't they all? But so I got her about 10 years ago from a man at the barn who had imported her from Argentina.
Wow.
So she is an Argentinian thoroughbred, which basically means she's like probably Criollo, which is the South American Mustang, and thoroughbred. But she was a polo horse. So she was bred for polo, for the sport. She played high goal polo in Argentina. She was a pretty amazing. She's a really fast horse.
She has an experienced life.
Yes. And so she came to the States, and he had decided he was going to sell her. And I said, I'll take her. And then she had a lot of health problems. And so I worked with her, and it turned out she had this kind of unknown muscle disease. And so I found, me being me, it's just the way I work. It was like I searched all over the world, and I found teaching hospitals, and I called them, and I was like, has anyone heard of this? And it has a name. It's MFM, which is myofibrillar myopathy, which is an actual human disease, but this is the only way it was kind of the genetics were the same. And so I called up, and I couldn't really find anything on horses. And I found this one man who was a genetic scientist. So he did a genome sequence on her DNA. Uh-huh. And split apart her DNA, and they found like some alleles in there, and they created a test. And so it was like, it's just been like an interesting thing. But her name means of the night because she's a black horse. But somebody came up to me one day and said, have you ever heard the legend of the Nochera? And I was like, no. And they said, well, it's all about, I don't know if this is true, but this is what he told me. He said the Nochera is the female, the Nochero is the male, and it's like they're the lamplighters. They lead the way in the herd. So it's like they're at the forefront of the herd, and they're lighting the way for everyone. And so I thought that was such a beautiful metaphor for this horse who had come from another country, had this illness, and was like lighting the way for other horses.
That's incredible. And it sounds like for you as well a little bit. You know,
that's kind of how I roll. I tend to have very dramatic life experiences that find me. I'm like, oh, okay, a bird hit my window, and all of a sudden I'm like, driving down to like a bird sanctuary, and
it's interesting. I'm happy that we got to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to jump into a little bit of a rapid fire type of round. See what you got over here.
Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, Lord.
Do you have a favorite video game like you've ever played?
Out of the one video games that I've played, I'd have to say it's Diablo IV.
Wow, just like that. Yeah, you heard it here. But someone from history you'd love to have dinner with.
Wow. Someone from history that I'd love to have dinner with. Wow, this really is a rapid fire. For some reason, I'm thinking Sidney Poitier.
Oh, that's a fun one.
I read his book, and I was just so fast. He just seemed,
guess who's coming to dinner?
Yeah, and just like he just was such a seminal voice, and in American history as an actor, and so
across the board.
He fascinates me.
Yeah, I would actually. I didn't even know. I need to read his book now. But so what's your zodiac sign?
I'm a Leo.
We were talking about before we started.
Yeah, I'm a Leo with a stellium in Cancer, which means I have, I guess, 4 planets in Cancer, and then I have an Aquarius moon sign.
I don't know much about that. Trying to learn.
I can teach you.
Okay, this is good information.
Yeah.
With the horse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can do a whole astrology based life coaching horse. Yeah.
Nice.
We can wear some crystals and
on
our way through.
I got some friends to introduce you to. But do you have a favorite music genre? I know you're a singer, but
I'm a big fan of just that stripped down kind of like singer songwriter acoustic.
Nice.
I just like low vibe kind of.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a chill person.
What about an artist? Is your favorite artist that type of music?
Oh wow. I don't know. I'm very eclectic. I just listen to whatever. I would probably say that. I mean, I don't know that she's doing so much now, but I was a huge fan of Tori Amos.
Okay.
Again, talk about like a voice of her generation, and just just an incredible writer and a wonderful performer, and I just loved her as a person.
Oh, that's nice. Really happy you came here. Could you explain to the audience, like, where can they find you, and what do you got going on next?
So you can probably find me on Instagram, like mostly talking about Horizon, my Apex character. I usually post a lot about my career, but I also post, fun stuff from my life, and I'm just Elle Newlands Gram on there.
Nice.
I sometimes tweet. I have a TikTok page, which I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Because I'm not as young as the kids that are all into the TikTok. So I'm like, so I'm trying to learn that. I'm Elle Newlands on TikTok. And just some of my conventions that I mentioned.
Nice.
Oh, I'm doing another convention as well. I'm doing one up in Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's announced yet. So.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll announce it at some point. I'm going to share all her links. Yeah, thank you so much for coming out here, Elle. This was incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.